Hello people, I'm Ginnymetheral, I'm a 4th generation witch, and I'm here today with my ever popular November Almanac. And so this is Witchcraft for November. So as always with these videos, I'm going to give you a general overview about the whole of November, and then we'll try and drill down into the daily details, and I will give you the dates that you should be carrying out various forms of witchcraft. So November is the month of the dead, and this is a worldwide custom. Think of the Japanese who used chrysanthemums, that great flower which is dedicated to the dead because it blooms in November. They decorate the graves of their loved ones in November with the beautiful chrysanthemums. Dia de los Muertos, of course, happens on the 1st of November in Mexico. It's a wonderful festival actually. Rather than commemorating the dead, it commemorates the life of the dead. It's a real festival of reflection and commemoration. Of course, the Anglo-Saxons have their great fire festival as Samhain, which is the festival of the dead. It starts, of course, on Halloween and runs throughout the whole of November, finishing on the 30th. And this is when the dead rise from their graves, carouse and cast about through the lives of the living. The Christians have their two great festivals of All Saints, which is the festival on the 1st of November, and All Souls, the festival of the dead, on the 2nd of November. I suspect that they wanted to keep you away from the Anglo-Saxon pagan customs, and so had these two festivals next door to each other, demanding that you go to church. Keep out of the pagan way. Go to church. Save your souls after all. The great chrysanthemum flower which the Japanese use is the flower of the dead. When Remembrance Sunday was first put together after World War I, the official flower of it was taken as the chrysanthemum. However, after a couple of years, and I think it was 1921, they changed it to the poppy because obviously the battlefields of France had been covered in poppies for the last 3 years. And so that flower became the great emblem for remembering the dead. Not only does November commemorate the dead throughout its month and is a month of the dead, but it is also a month of fire. The great fire festivals of the year happen in November. Samhain, Guy Fawkes, we'll go into that a bit later. People light candles and lanterns to light their way through the darkness of the coming months. This festival of lights is actually reflected in what's going on in the heavens in November, because there are 4, which is a lot of meteor showers. The Taurids, the Orionids, the Phoenicids and the Great Leonids. The Great Leonids had a really spectacular display in the millennium years. They're not due for another spectacular display until 2030 or thereabout. The chances of you going out in November and seeing a shooting star are very great. And as we all know, the first thing you must do with a shooting star is make a wish. This making a wish bodes well for November because, of course, it is the start of the new year. The Anglo-Saxons and the Celts decided that the 1st November, or whenever they started using their calendar, it would have been based on the moon previously. But this was the month that began the new year. All crops had to be brought in from the fields, and any crops left out in the fields and unharvested now belong to the Fae and must not be touched, because the Fae will be a bit cross and they'll come and do something disastrous to your stores if you go out and take their food sources. So don't go near them. New Years are always celebrated with divination. You want to know what's going to happen. And November is primarily concerned with how harsh your winter's going to be. And so there's lots of phrases that say, if November is icy and cold, then your winter will be mild. And if November is mild and slushy and rainy, then your winter will be harsh. This old rhyme does show this particularly well. Ice before Martinmas, enough to bear a duck. The rest of winter is sure to be but muck. Meaning, If there's enough ice on your rivers and streams to bear the weight of a duck, then your winter will just be slushy and rainy and not harsh. So let's see, shall we? So although you've bought in your crops from the fields for the start of November, the sea is not considered a crop, and this is in abundance at the moment. It is the great time of the salmon migration. In North America, in olden times, it was known that the salmon migration was so vast that you could cross the estuaries of the rivers by sort of walking on the thousands and millions of salmon that were trying to get up the rivers. Apparently, salmon know where they should go and spawn after up to 4 or 5 years in the sea by the river's smell, because they have a superb sense of smell. I love this because I've always said that there are guardian spirits of rivers, and so it shows that each river has its own characteristic. That was my general overview for November, and so now let's have a look at the individual dates. And of course, where better to start than with the first. This is still the ancient custom of Samhain. Samhain starts on Halloween at dusk and actively finishes at dusk on the 1st of November. And it is a great fire festival. Now, I have done a huge video about this already, so I'm not going to go into any further details. However, I do want to talk about the other festivals that are happening at the same time. In Mexico, we have the Dia de los Muertos, the Festival of the Dead. The 1st of November is also the start of the ancient Celtic Festival of the Dead, which lasts throughout the whole of November. And to top it all off, it's the first day of the new year. Happy New Year to all you witches out there. 2nd of November is the ancient Christian festival of All Souls, recognising all those who are dead. And it's a holy day of obligation, meaning that you should go to church. And so I think the Christians were trying to bring all their folk into the churches to stop them going to the pagan festival, because the Anglo-Saxons would celebrate the festival of the recently deceased, so to speak, the dead of this year on this day. And they would leave out food and drink to welcome in those spirits for those of their family who had died this year. So if you've sadly lost a family member or a great friend, do leave out food and drink for them tonight. The 4th of November is the night of the new moon, and the new moon is rising in Scorpio. Now, new moons are traditionally times of new beginnings and new endeavours, and with the new moon in Scorpio, this is all about personal development, personal relationships and desire. So now is a really great day to start taking a close look at any relationship issues that you might have and maybe making some changes. Or should you wish to go into therapy, start it today. You'll have a greater chance of success with your therapist. Likewise, should you have any personal development issues, you want to start a new course in yoga, for example, or learn to be a witch, today is a great day to start and make that decision to go forth. Talking about becoming a witch, do check out my Patreon, because this month's Coven meeting is coming up in about 10 days' time, and this will show you how to be a witch, and I do a lot of teaching over Zoom, so do check it out and have a look. The 4th is also traditionally known as Mischief Night. Now, this was the night when it was said that the fairies could gain access to your home, and they'd come in and they'd move things around and take things and hide them and just be generally mischievous. So it was considered a good thing if you yourself went round and created this mischief in your house, moved things around, hid things, so that when the fairies came in, they saw that mischief had already been managed and left for somebody else's. Because better that you hid your stuff than the fairies came in, changed everything, and possibly did something worse. So tonight is Mischief Night. Lock up your doors, put out your protective walls, and hide your precious things from yourself. Don't let the fairies in. The 5th of November in the UK is known as Fawkes Night, which is the celebration that the fact that this Catholic plotter, Guy Fawkes and his men, did not blow up the Houses of Parliament. However, this was based on a much older festival where a bonfire was lit, and there is traces of it that can be seen in the UK, especially around this part of the world in the southwest. Bridgwater has a carnival this day, and they have celebrated Guy Fawkes Night with a large bonfire and fireworks since it first happened in 1606, I think it was. What they would do is they would produce effigies of Guy Fawkes and all his terrorist plotters and drag them on carts up through the town to the bonfire where he would be ritually burnt. Now, this is something that didn't necessarily start with Guy Fawkes. It possibly was given a Guy Fawkes overview, but I think it is based on a much older festival, personally, only because there is the very famous Ottery tar barrels, which is just down the road from Bridgwater. The village of Ottery St Mary fires up these huge barrels and rolls them through the town, burning everything inside. Very dangerous. I haven't been there yet. I must go. There is also a couple of other towns in Devon which do have this sort of fire festival theme going through them on the 5th. Bridgwater now uses the Guy Fawkes Night to have their carnival, and they have elaborately decorated carts, and it is a great day out. Shabir in Devon also has something that is a bit weird. There is a large boulder which is not part of the natural landscape of the area, and every 5th of November the men take their crowbars to this boulder, lighted by the women with their lamps, and they dig the boulder out and roll it over, letting the devil out. Whether this is to cast the devil out or let the devil out of prison, no one really knows. It was said that this boulder was possibly a pagan altar, but it has no real reason being in that spot. It does not belong in this landscape. The 11th of November, of course, is known best for as a day of remembrance, and this is when we celebrate those who fell in war for our freedoms. However, the Anglo-Saxons used the 11th of November as the traditional slaughter of the cattle to keep them going through the winter. And so November was known by the Anglo-Saxons as Blood Month, Blood Month, due to this slaughter. It is also the 11th, the traditional day for St Martinmas. St Martin was a great Catholic saint who was travelling around Europe, and he came upon the devil. And he immediately turned the devil into a donkey, as you do, and rode the devil into Rome. The devil, leaving him in Rome, gave him a very famous palindrome in Latin, which is where if you spell it backwards, it's the same as if you spell it forwards. It's very complicated anyway. However, today is St Martinmas, and if you were to go to your parish church and stand at the back of the parish church, gazing out at the congregation in front of you, you would see auras of death around those who were due to lose their lives this year in the parish. Bit of divination. November is quite a divination month after all. The 19th of November is the full moon. It is also the night of the lunar eclipse, which is the second of the year. This is a rather difficult time because this lunar eclipse happens in the full moon that falls in Scorpio. So for Scorpions, you're going to have pretty much a downward trend for the next 6 months. Don't start anything new. It's not going to go well for you. Just knuckle down and carry on with what you've got. Sorry about that, but the moon, the bright full moon in your star sign, means that this is your moment to shine in the constellation of the heaven, and yet this one is eclipsed by the earth. Sorry, Scorpios, not a great 6 months for you coming up. However, top tip, in order for your body to remember that it is a full moon, eat lots of foods that are governed by the moon, like lettuce and melons, and this will help, possibly. I'm not sure if it will, but it might do actually. There is something to be said for moon-ruled planets in your body coming into conjunction together. If you would like to see this lunar eclipse, the best place to see it is in Hawaii. So go to Hawaii and have a look there. The 21st of November is that old pagan festival. I say pagan, it's not, it's Christian, but it's so pagan it might as well be, of Stir Up Sunday. This is the day when you would traditionally make your Christmas pudding. Now, the Christmas pudding making is a massive spell. You take 13 ingredients, representing Christ and his 12 disciples. You stir all the ingredients from east to west, commemorating the journey of the 3 wise men from the east. Each family member or household member comes and takes a turn to stir the pot and make a wish. And then you insert your divination silver charms into the pudding so that you can break it open when you eat it and see what the future holds for you. Now, if that is not a massive spell, I'm not a witch. I love it. I have done it every year, as my mother did. There was a huge ritual to us stirring up the Christmas pudding, and I hope that you do it too. And finally, we come to the 30th of November, the last day of November. This day is St Andrew's Day, and St Andrew is a very popular saint throughout Europe, and there's a lot of sort of light parades. In Germany, I think they carry lanterns around the place to parade for St Andrews and then eat some sausages. And in Poland, they do a lot of divination, as they do in Scotland, who, of course, St Andrew is their patron saint. Now, the traditional way to divine on this day is with wax. You take a large key and you pour molten wax through the eye of the key into cold water. And then the lumps of wax that you have formed in the cold water beneath, you can divine your future. So I'm going to have a go. The 30th of November, of course, is the last night of the November Festival of the Dead. This is when the dead, who have been currently walking amongst us living and breathing mortals, now dance with the fairies and are allowed to do so for the last time this year. It is said that if you see this dance, you will be mesmerised, and should a fairy spot you at the same time, they will drag you into the dance and you will never leave. So for tonight, go in, lock your doors and hold your loved ones close. And that is my online almanac for November. I do hope you enjoyed it. Please leave me a comment below telling me which part of this you liked the most and whether you celebrate any of these particular dates or any of this type of festival in November. I'm really interested to know, and I will respond. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in a few days.